Okay. Thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Carlin Ziegler. I'm the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Communications Chair. And so today we have our second forum in accessibility. And this forum was prompted by our first forum on mobility issues. And today we actually have with us several guests to help us with some of our other accessibility challenges in the parks and trails related to both autism or sensory sensitivities, as well as blindness or visual impairments in the park. So a wide array of different accessibility challenges that we see in our parks and trails that's just not directly related to maybe ADA. So there are many variables that we see in parks and many different accessibility challenges that we should be paying attention to and looking into. So we have three guests with us today. I will introduce our guests and then we'll go through and introduce ourselves. And then we can kind of get started with our presentations. So first off, we have today with us Michele Ensign. I hopefully said that right, correct? Is it Michele Ensign?
You did. I'm impressed. Most people don't. So nice work.
Awesome. Michele is a special needs mom and former teacher and living in Rochester, Minnesota, and has an applied behavioral analysis and autism spectrum disorders graduate degree. Earlier this year, she formed what's called the Autism Resource Guide to serve the needs of the community through community connections, education, advocacy, and I popped on to this online guide, and it is just a wealth of information and resources in the area for any kind of autism and sensory needs and connections to the community. We also have with us Mary Lee Turner, and she is joining us, I believe, from Portland, Oregon. And
that's correct.
Awesome. Mary Lee is congenitally and legally blind and now is also experiencing some hearing loss. During her U of O, which I'm thinking is Oregon, however,
Yep.
Depending on where you say, however you say Oregon.
You did it right. Good job.
Awesome. Her graduate studies took all environmental interpretive courses that were offered, and her master's degree focuses on therapeutic recreation. So Mary Lee was the first ever blind person to participate in an outward bound course right here in the Boundary Waters around Ely, Minnesota. Throughout her life, whenever the opportunity arises, she provides feedback regarding the issues of accessibility in local and state parks. So thank you for joining us today, Mary Lee.
You're welcome.
Also today is Mary Lee's younger twin sister, Jane Tolino. Jane is also congenitally and now totally blind. She was one of the first children to speak at Oregon State Legislature about the need for orientation and mobility training for visually impaired folks in all environments. All her life, she has loved traveling. She walks country roads and city streets, along the riverbanks, through woods and in the parks, and continually thinks about the kinds of cues and information that would help in our parks and trails communities. So thank you, Jane, for joining us as well.
I'm very glad for the opportunity.
Good. Thank you all three for being here today. I want to just go through and make sure that we introduce ourselves to you. And as a courtesy, one of those things that we need to do today is introduce our name, but also our physical attributes so that Mary Lee and Jane can get kind of a visual in their mind about who is speaking to them at various times. So again, my name is Carlin Ziegler. I'm the Olmsted County Parks Director and the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Communications Chair. I am a white female with strawberry blonde hair and glasses, and today I'm wearing a white jacket. So that is me. I'm going to just call everybody out on the screen. If you're able to talk to us, let us know. I will start with Renee.
Good morning. My name's Renee Matson. I'm coming to you from Duluth, Minnesota today, which is north of where Carlin is. Hence, I am also a white female wearing glasses with blonde hair and a warmer top than Carlin has on because we're near Lake Superior and sometimes it's a little bit colder here than other parts of Minnesota. And I'm the executive director of the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission. And thank you for the program today. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you all.
Thanks, Renee. We'll go to Paul next. If Paul is able to chat with us. There we go.
Oh, thank you. Paul Vogel, City of Mankato. I'm an older white male and we do community development for the City of Mankato, which includes parks planning.
It would be helpful if you could speak up, Paul.
Oh, sorry.
Give it a shot. Come on, come on.
I'll check my internet connection. Paul Vogel, City of Mankato, community development. We do park planning, capital improvement planning. I have some other team members on here as well.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
We will move to Jeff Feast next.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Jeff Feast. I am a oldish white male with little to no hair. And I'm here in Rochester, probably not too far from Carlin, Rochester, Minnesota, which is in the far southeast part of the state, as you may know. And yeah, looking forward to hearing what you all have to say. So thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. And we will go to Glenda next.
Hi, this is Glenda Philippi. I am a Roseau County Commissioner, and I am joining this meeting from the banks of the Warroad River, and it is lovely, but it's 90 some degrees and we're dying here because we went from our furnaces being on to our air conditioners overnight. And
Yep.
we never have spring. I am a senior female. Thanks to magic in a bottle, I don't have white hair right now, but I get it colored. So anyway, I serve on Roseau County's committee, which is Parks and Trails, and it covers Minnesota and Roseau County and all of the activities that go on up here. And I'm very interested in the meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda. We'll move to Molly next.
All right, let me back up here. I'm Molly Westman. I work with Paul Vogel, as you just heard Paul speak for the City of Mankato. We work with the parks planning process. I'm a white female with what I like to call mousy brown hair. And I'm wearing glasses today and a white shirt. And as I said, here at the City of Mankato, we work with the parks planning process. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Molly. Sarah.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sarah Whitty, and I'm with the City of Hutchinson Parks Department as the park manager here. I am a middle-aged white female, dishwater blonde hair. Today I have it on a side braid, so keep it off the back of my neck, because as everybody's been saying, it's going to be nice and sultry today, especially if I have to get outdoors. Yeah, just looking forward. I was bummed that I didn't have an opportunity to attend the last session on the ADA accessibility. I'm sure that one was recorded, just haven't had the opportunity, but I made sure to set time aside today because I feel that these are all very important issues for us, especially in our parks and when it comes to planning new facilities and new amenities. So looking forward to it. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That's a good segue. We did not get the first ADA mobility one recorded because we had so many technical difficulties that day.
Well.
We did do a recap in a newsletter, and we will work to get the information out as far as contact information for or Mike. So we will get that out on our website. But unfortunately, we did not get that one recorded.
Oh, well, I'm glad I'm here today then too.
Thank you.
especially.
Yes,
Mhm.
me too.
Yes.
All right, next we'll do Celeste. You need to put your microphone down, I think, Celeste.
All right. Hi, I'm Celeste. I'm the naturalist at Chesterwoods Park in Olmsted County, southeastern Minnesota. I am a middle-aged, you're probably looking at, like, I'm trying to adjust my camera here. Can't see the top of my head, whatever. Okay. Middle-aged white female, dishwater, blonde hair, up in a bun on my head like it is every day, especially when it's going to be, 89 degrees and humid. And I work for actually just for Carlin as well here in Olmsted County at Chesterwoods Park. And
Thanks,
I'm
Celeste. Megan, we'll go with you next.
Hello, I'm Megan Long. I also work with Carlin and Celeste at Olmsted County Parks, and I work at Oxbow Park. And I am white female, blonde hair in a braid with a headband to keep it out of my face. And I also have glasses.
Thanks, Megan. Andrew.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Montgomery. I'm with Damon Farber Landscape Architects. I use he, him pronouns, white, male, and I got a little salt and pepper up in there, brown hair. But yeah, really excited about this topic. Some of you might be familiar with Train Park down in La Crosse, Wisconsin. It was in some of the newsletters last year, but it's an all abilities park down there. And so Chuck Evans in our office led that project, but yeah, really excited about the topic.
Thanks, Andrew. And Mark.
Mark Hahn, City of Mankato. I guess I would describe myself as old and if you could imagine a football coach, what he looked like, I would say that would be me. I'm old, I'm a little round, and I have glasses, so that's me.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, I believe I got everyone. So there are 14 of us on call today. So thank you everyone for joining us. I will be watching the chats and facilitating any chats that come up, and but also feel free to either raise your virtual hand or your real hand or pop on video if you have any questions along the way. We are going to start today with Michele and talking about her autism resource guide, and also just talking about sensory sensitivities in the park. But I think right off the bat, I think we all need to know some of the language and how we talk properly about some of the challenges that we have, and so that we're using the right language when we speak with people as well. So Michele, is sensory sensitivity a good way to say what we're trying to accomplish with autism and other?
Yeah, I mean, so you will find there's almost a different opinion for every person that you ask. And so that is if you go in with the right intention, which I imagine all of us in here, we're showing up to listen to this, your intentions are good. If people have a problem with the way you're speaking, it's kind of more my opinion that it's their problem. If they have a problem with you trying to care, and if the way you're trying to speak to them is causing them problems, then I say preferences because it's easier for me to just simply get out of my mouth with my tongue than sensory sensitivities. It's too much. I found I get docked 10% if I say autistic versus person with autism. But I have found in my experience that the vast majority of individuals on the spectrum prefer autistic. And so you will, to me, I would focus less on tripping yourself up and being nervous about the words you say versus what are you actually saying. Most of what we say, the vast majority of what we're saying is not verbal. It's through body language and it's through how we're speaking it. And to me, that's what's the most important. So you will hear me say autistic, you will hear me saying nonverbal. And to me, that's my son's nonverbal. And I know that that's what he would prefer rather than me listing off a paragraph or two of the nonverbal ways that are his strengths and ways of communicating. So does that answer that? Everyone has different opinions. That is mine. So does that?
Yes,
okay.
That's good. And that's just a good thing for all of us to understand always, is that when we're trying to communicate with anybody, really it's just a matter of being polite and professional and trying our best to not offend anybody. I mean, and that really does come down to just being genuine and polite and professional. So no, I appreciate that, because it is hard to get everyone's.
I'd like to
preferences.
jump in for just a second if I
Yes,
may.
please.
And it's Jane speaking to that. Having spent a lot of my adult life, 30 plus years, in and out of Minnesota, which I dearly love, but I don't want to live there anymore. I don't want to be cold. I get concerned when people talk about being nice. To me, often nice covers up fear. It's not very forthright. So I encourage people to use the most genuine language they have. And that's as good as it gets. And then just to be able to acknowledge, let's go forward from here. I haven't ever assisted someone with autism or whatever it is. How would you like me to identify you? How, if in any way, may I assist you? Now, these are my words, so y'all use your own. But just forthright caring is immense. And sometimes the best thing to do is shut up and listen, and you'll get there. But that's a hard choice to make, especially for me, because I don't usually shut up. But I'm going to now. Anyway.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. All right, Michele, I will hand it off to you, and we are looking forward to anything you have to teach us.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's see if I can teach. We'll see if hopefully you guys get some good stuff. Obviously, to me, this is a huge topic. And in 20 minutes, we're going to only touch the surface on, but we're not even going to touch the surface on all the things that we could discuss. So if you guys have any questions about any of this type of stuff, that's what my email, my phone number are for. But so I'm going to attempt to screen share. I am not good at this technology stuff. We're also going to try to make this all vocal, verbal, auditory, for ease of everybody here. So please just chime in whenever, and we are going to do that. Okay, so select screen share. Okay, so I am going to okay, is that good for everybody?
Yep, that looks great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so accessibility for sensory sensitivities. So next screen. So it was a cool March day outside. No pencils or paper in sight. Everyone bundled in winter coats. Alex, a nonverbal autistic, was in the outdoor classroom where his special needs class played and explored for at least 1 hour every day with 25 mainstream kindergartners. Alex's only interactions had been to throw things or to hit. But in the fresh air, day after day, something started to change. Mrs. Cooper noticed him march over to a pile of wood, put 3 sticks in a small wheelbarrow, and push it to a spot on the pavement. One by one, he placed the sticks on the ground, forming the letter A. 3 more trips for an L, an E, and an X. Outdoor play is essential for wellness and emotional well-being, but an individual with autism is usually restricted to the comfort of indoors because they can get overwhelmed with all the sensory input. At first, Mrs. Cooper's autistic students couldn't tolerate getting their hands dirty, but they gradually got comfortable mucking in sand, water, mud. Other benefits were clearly observed, and in the lineup each morning, the children often hugged her in excitement because it was time to go outside. So the benefits of nature for those with sensory needs is starting to get attention from various professionals, whether it's teachers, therapists, landscape designers. National Taiwan University study adds that playing in sand and grass can reduce sensitivity to these tactile situations. So the Forest School, if you guys have heard of that, was an outdoor movement in Sweden in the 1950s. At first, when you think of outdoor learning and autism, it doesn't sound like a good idea because you think of all the sensory input that goes on. However, all of that natural sensory input does benefit them. And the regularly scheduled sessions that if we offer the freedom and the structure, kind of do both, it provides an alternative way to conceptualize, understand, organize, and most importantly, feel the sensory data that that outdoor environment provides for them to be able to figure out and get used to. Nature is ever changing, as you guys all know. We have the different seasons, plants, animals, but it also has a lot of recognizable patterns that people can pick up on. So, but knowing all of these sensory input that the outdoors provides, we also need to be aware of how it affects each individual, and make sure that we have places for them to be able to take it easy and do what they need to for that.
Could you mute the person, the background noise? It's hard to hear the speaker.
That's Mary Lee.
Okay, so first I wanted to go into a brief introduction of what are sensory sensitivities. And my son just came in, so you'll be hearing him squawking in the background. So I wanted you guys to speak up, give some opinions of what are sensory sensitivities. What does that mean to you?
I will start. I would say if somebody says that to me, it just means maybe they're always overstimulated by a lot of people, a lot of sounds.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go off of that. So sensitivities can be the hyperstimulation where you're getting too much. It can also be when you're not getting enough and you have to seek it out. And so that's like my son typically needs to seek out, but he also has a few moments where he needs to be calmed. And that would be like the deep pressure is a seeking of sensory input, but it's to calm him down, not to hype him up. So there's several, I guess, kind of different layers and aspects to consider that we're not going to get into. But yes, so it's overwhelming and seeking of sensory input. So, okay, then my next question is, who has sensory sensitivities?
I'm going to answer that all of us do. But when you speak about particular disabilities, each one is accompanied or can be accompanied by particular sensory deficits or overruns. I'm not sure of the best language there, but we can either get too much sensory stuff or not enough. I'm very sensory aware of things approaching me. I will back up if I don't know what it is. If I hear a bug zapper do that, I jump, even though I know what they are. And voices, I'm extremely tuned into how voices are, not just what they say. So, and touch, if people approach me and grab my arm or my hand, I will step away from them and say, hang on, let's figure this out before you assume that I need your information or your help that way. So every disability comes with a variety of sensory challenges.
That's perfect. Thank you. And then every individual with those specific needs has different preferences. That's when I was working with the professor in college, he loved when I would grab his arm and then we had little different squeezes for if you needed to step up or step down, and things like that. Yes. And thank you. That's perfect. So yes, so we all have sensory, I'm gonna say preferences because I can say that easier. So whether we need more of it, whether we need less of it, it could be the time of day, it could be, we could also have input that's so, I would say, assaulting to us that then we can't focus on any other input, whether we want to or not. And sorry, he's really going. Hopefully it's not obnoxious for you guys. So we can be dying of thirst or we can be too tired. And that need that we have, that sensory need is so great that we can't focus. It could be, for instance, the visual, it could be an oncoming car with its brights on at night. That's something that I think we've all experienced and kind of relate to when that's so bright that we just, it's all we can do to stay between the lines. So another, the point that we've already kind of touched on is that we all have sensory preferences or needs throughout the day, throughout the week, the month, the year, our lives. It's just, it's typically more challenging for those on the spectrum where that have various obvious needs. It could be that our mental health, we need different, or the level of stress we're experiencing. It could be illness, whether temporary or medical conditions. It could be PTSD, it could be sleep deprivation, you name it, or we could be sick. It all affects the sensory input that we're seeking or that we need or don't need at that time.
And I'd like to interject one other thing, and this is Jane again. I think it's crucial to recognize that where a disability is visible, it's very much easier to comprehend that they may have some special and particular ways of assisting that you could tap into by asking. But if, and I would love it, Mary Lee, if you would unmute or whatever you do to your setup over there. I've been deeply challenged because she's legally blind, but she sees a lot. And so she has access to getting by less now than she used to. But I would love for you to hear her talk briefly about what sensory stuff goes on for her, being able to sort of see and sort of not. Mary Lee, can you unmute or whatever?
Since she's having trouble, is it okay if we go on to the next slide?
And maybe Mary Lee, you'll have to go out and come back in. I don't know, but all right.
Okay, so one of my examples was, for instance, the hammering of a woodpecker at 6 a.m. Saturday morning. For somebody that likes to sleep in, not sensory input I want. Whereas maybe at 2 in the afternoon, I'd love it. So just having us be aware that we all have various sensory sensitivities or preferences at different times. It's all over the board. And that you also can't plan for or read every individual's preference. As we've kind of
That's
touched on, it's that would be a superpower. So stopping and listening or observing or asking. My son's nonverbal, so a lot of people really don't know what to do with him. So I step in and help because I've been with him for 9 years and I know what it is. So just the goal of my presentation here is to help you become aware of what your sensory preferences are, to then kind of use the heightened awareness to then hopefully apply it to what others might need. So the, let me skip that. So to me, it's kind of a threefold. So understanding our own, what we like to take in or don't like in our environments. Then just simply being aware of all of the input that the environment is providing, whether it's stuff we like or don't like, or maybe we're not even perceiving that others might. And then taking that and responding to how others might be perceiving it, so that we can then make reasonable accommodations or modifications for them in your outdoor situations that you guys have got going on. So, okay, then we're gonna go through quickly some of the different senses, just to kind of give you guys an idea of ways to think about it. So I want you guys to think, we're gonna hit smell first. So what are your favorite smells? I'm gonna throw up some of mine. Lilacs are one, the ylang-ylang, fresh chocolate chip cookies, my boyfriend's shirts that he's worn for the day. Probably not your favorite smell, anyone in here, but it's mine because it's comforting. So just the point that some smells we like, others, that same smell, people don't. And to think about why they're your favorite. Are they relaxing or calming? Are they invigorating? Are they attached to a loved one or a happy memory? Then we also have their smells that are bad, that we don't like. So for instance, I actually get near instant headaches when I walk by all the perfumes in the mall. Some people love those smells. I get a physical headache with them. And so to be aware that these might not just be preferences, but it could be that people are getting actual physical reactions, and that's why they're responding far more severely than you might think is deemed appropriate or ordinary. So just to be aware of that as well. Any thoughts on smell? Or I'm just going to kind of, instead of having this being more interactive, we're just going to kind of fly through for the sake of time. We good with that?
Sure.
Yep. Okay. So let's go here. Okay, so for sound, I want you guys to think about what sounds you like. What about it do you like? Are they soothing? Do you like it when they're loud and block out everything else? Do you like it when they're just soft and in the background? Is it somebody's certain giggle, or is it your favorite music? So what I wanted to do is have everybody take just 10 seconds or so. I have my phone here. 15 seconds and just listen to the sounds that you've got going on. We're going to go ahead and start. 15 seconds. Okay, so what were you guys hearing? And go ahead and shout it out.
My air conditioner.
Okay, the hum of an air conditioner. What else?
My dog's snoring.
Yep, there you go. Mine's quietly sleeping right now. So
Busy office environment.
yes. So it could be a light humming. My computer laptop fan is being obnoxiously loud. Sometimes people on the spectrum or with other needs the hum of the refrigerator can be so loud to them that they then can't focus on anything else. That's what, for me, I use a sound machine at night, and then my brain, I turn it up really loud. So then my brain associates that sound with not needing to be paid attention to. And while that is the loudest sound, it blocks out the other ones that might keep me awake. And so that could be for better or worse. But different sounds are received by people's brains in different ways. And so that's something that we need to be aware of. So like the dripping of a leaky faucet, that could be something that for me, I can't tune out. Even though it's a very subtle, very quiet sound, that's going to drive me nuts. And I'm not going to be able to focus on the other sensory input that I probably should be instead. So that's just something to be aware of. Maybe a bird chirping might so this column might be the leaves rustling in the wind, or the chirp of birds, or toads croaking. Those could be soothing sounds. Those could be overstimulating. Is there something to be aware of that everyone receives it differently? And then there was also, like the other night, I could hear the bat squeaking flying overhead. My boyfriend couldn't hear it at all. And so there might not just be how we perceive it, but that we perceive something at all that somebody else is as well. So just some different thoughts to take into consideration. Okay, so touch is another really fun one. That is, to me, one of the major ones for the outdoors. So I want you guys to think what you like about the things that you enjoy touching or having touch you. What are their temperature? Are they wet or dry? Are they soft or hard? Are they rough or smooth? What is it that you like about that touch? And what is it that you don't like about things that you don't like to touch? So my son, it took years to tolerate the grass. Trying to put him down in the yard was like trying to put a cat into a bathtub. It did not work. And the sand was a completely different story because it was the heat, and then he sunk into it. It was too much. But in snow, forget it. Not only is it cold and wet to the touch, but after he's shaken it off, his hand is still cold and still wet, even after he's gotten it off of his hand. So there are the crunch under his boots. I like it. To me, it's soothing and calming and fun. For him, something's not right. And so he's like a dog in the little boots, barely tapping around. And this is where you get into kind of its exposure therapy. And you just slowly encourage, we all do it. We all need to try foods a few times when we're babies to know if we like it or not. We all need to experiment with things. It's just a matter of where our tolerance level is and what our limits are. We might not be able to get my son to enjoy romping around in the sand, but if he can be able to put his toes in it and enjoy it long enough or tolerate it long enough to be able to get into the water he loves that's past the sand, then that's a success, and then he can enjoy the outdoors. So we'll go ahead and skip to sight because we've got a serious time situation here. We're gonna skip sight. So the application of awareness, I'm gonna skip through. Okay, so what I really wanted to touch on with you guys was how to apply our awareness of the sensory input that the outdoors provides, the wonderful sensory input it provides, and how different people perceive it and can learn to enjoy it or not learn to enjoy it, but tolerate it to be not as stressful as it might be otherwise, is to have it be reasonable accommodations. And reasonable as in it doesn't cost a ton of money. It doesn't require a ton of manpower. A lot of this stuff can be done with just a little bit more than just the thought of doing it. And that's what I wanted to touch on really big
Do it.
today. And also just being flexible also. So you can't read people's minds. You can't know how they're receiving the input. You can ask. A lot of individuals can't articulate what they're experiencing. So that's why you being aware of what might be an issue is helpful, and just being understanding and reading them and taking their lead. So that's why I put flexibility. You need to have some structure, but you also need to be flexible and learning to just roll with it, and what they need and what that time, and balancing the respect that needs to be going both ways. Because you can't just let, I can't just let my 8-year-old run amok. There needs to be boundaries and expectations, and learning to do both ways and have it be respectful both ways. But I want a quick story to do. So I'm just trying to scroll through like a ton of this here to get through. So yeah, one example, the teacher came up with the idea, and for less than $1,000, she found a log that kids can sit on, a stump that can be sat on. And then, so specific ideas. So sound, touch, sight, smell a little bit. I went ahead and cut out taste because we shouldn't really be eating too much in nature. At least with this demographic.
Talk right now. I'll call you back later, okay?
So for the sound,
Talk
you
right
can
now.
have
I'm in a meeting.
and sometimes headphones can enhance the sound so they can hear things better, or you can turn it down so that it's quieter for them. For touch, like with individuals like my son who just can't touch the grass or things, have a blanket so that they can lay on the grass or sit on it, not have the tactile overstimulation, so that they can focus on listening or looking at that sensory input without being overloaded by the tactile. Let them bring their favorite fidget toys out so that you're having them enjoy the comforts of what they're normally doing indoors, and just have it be outdoors. So that then the outdoor stimulation is just kind of on the periphery for them to get used to while they're focusing on that main thing, and have that be a slow, gentle introduction. A lot of people like to wear gloves so that when they do have to touch stuff, it's not as much for them. Use sunglasses or a sun hat. Binoculars, that's supposed to have a B in front of it. Especially those with either visual limitations or with physical limitations. If they're in a wheelchair and can't get quite up as close to the tree that they want, they can use the binoculars, or you can get them into photography. A lot of individuals on the spectrum have very keyed in interests, and so we can tune into geocaching or photography or things like that, or hiking, or following the trails. Then with smell, bugs can be an issue, and so having bug spray available or recommending to them, okay, we're going to be outside, bring your bug spray. Clothes is another issue, but we'll skip on those. Another suggestion I have for you guys is to have maps. So those that are maybe on more of the level 1 level of needs, is to have a map so they can see. It's kind of like a story that they can see. Okay, we're going to be here, we're going to go there, then we're going to go here. It's going to help with the anxiety and preparing, and then they can have that in hand as you're going around, to help with the anxiety issues. Then there are some different overload issues for on trails and stuff, like being passed by a bike can be kind of scary for individuals, or having dogs around. So just some things to keep in mind for there. We're gonna skip through a lot of this. But if they're getting overloaded, so if hands-on is too much, let them just sit on that blanket and listen. Let's listen for the birds. We don't have to touch all this stuff. We can just listen. Or we can have our eyes closed and lay on a blanket and just look with headphones on. So sometimes all of the input is too much, so let's limit it to 1 or 2. And expose them that way so that they can learn to enjoy it. You can also bring it indoors if the weather's too much for them, if it's rainy or windy or too cold or too hot. Put a bird feeder up so they can watch it out the window, right? Things like that. So your homework is to go outside. I'm going to skip that so it stops making the noise. Pick one sense. Be out there for 5-10 minutes. Focus on the input you're receiving for that one sense. Do it for each of the senses and only focus on that one sense. And then do it in a couple different environments. Do it in a parking lot. Do it in the park. Do it in your backyard. That way you can be aware of the senses that you're perceiving and what you appreciate and don't appreciate, to then apply to being aware of what others might be perceiving or receiving that input from. So in conclusion, nature is a natural stress reducer that helps instill positive feelings. We all know that. Being outside removes autistic children from some of their typical life stressors. Many have special interests, and they can learn to enjoy those in the outdoors. A report indicated children on the spectrum laughed and smiled more while in nature, finding opportunities to become happy and relaxed. And I can tell you, as a mom of a boy who severely struggles, that's something you pray for. And the outdoors are a beautiful way that we can help people to achieve that happiness and peace and calm if we just have a few little tools in our toolbox. We skipped through a ton, but any questions on any of this stuff, I'm very happy to try to give more specific help on.
Do you still need me?
These are 4 of the
Organized all 3
main ones that I
baskets.
used.
And we cleaned it up.
I'm gonna cut off at that point.
I have to.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I appreciate all the information you have, and we'll get these resources out on the websites as well. So we will hop over right now and give some time to Jane and Mary Lee. And we would greatly appreciate some insight from both of you on how we can accommodate and make some improvements in our parks for those with sight problems.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. I enjoyed that, and certainly have family and friends that experience autism and other disabilities. So thank you.
Thank you.
So, okay.
Mary Lee?
Yes. Hang on
Oh,
a
go
sec.
ahead. I was.
Okay, this is Mary Lee, and my understanding is we're in this meeting. We have like 10 minutes left. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. Those that can hang
Okay.
on longer, we can certainly go a little bit longer though. So
Okay, so the things that I've been thinking about in preparation for this, and again, this is Mary Lee from Portland, and is how do you know, it doesn't, no matter how good your park or recreation area is, if people who are blind don't know about it, they're not going to go. So how are you reaching out to the community that is experience sight loss is where I'd like to challenge you. So just having a website is great, but number one, is your website accessible for folks with blindness? And there are people in your state that can help you make your website accessible. Are you in communication with, for example, groups if there's a blind school or a special education department. I don't know how you do it in various parts of Minnesota. I know that when I went through Outward Bound, the mosquitoes were the rulers, so you just had to pay attention to them and give in. But it's really important that you're promoting your facility or your space in ways that are accessible to people who are blind. So if there's senior services or school programs or community recreation centers, whatever, it's important that you use them. And I know that most people that experience sight loss, most of that occurs, the sight loss occurs later in life. Certainly the majority of folks who experience sight loss, it doesn't occur at birth, so they're not congenitally blind, as Jane and I am. But so how do you get to them? Just having it in a brochure that promotes that your park and recreation facilities, that's great, but I can't read it. And so how do I get to learn about it? It's really important that there's also access to, how do you get there? Can you get there on public transportation? Can you, if you go by car, are there with other people, is the parking close? And are there, everybody wants to know where the restrooms are. Are they ADA accessible? Are the parks, are the paths paved? Or what's the height change that may occur in the park? Is there access to water? So those are just a few things that come to my mind. Jane, how about for you?
I want to just add to what Mary Lee has said. I challenge you not only to find out how to get there. It's very different if you then try to go there with public transportation or door-to-door transportation. It's a kick in the pants. It really, really is. And you'll get off that, ADA transport or whatever it is, public bus, and you'll go, oh, well, now where am I? How do you find out from the bus stop how to get to where you want to be? So she's pointed out things. In Minnesota, you all can start with State Services for the Blind or the Independent Living Center. No, that's not what it's called anymore. Vision Loss Resources is what it's called in Minneapolis. They can provide you fabulous connections with people who can come and specifically be on site with you and figure that out. What I'm just reaching for one piece of equipment to show you on. If you ever see a person, and if you're biking and you're coming from behind them, you won't necessarily see it, but can you see this harness?
Yes, we can.
Okay, if you ever see a critter wearing any kind of apparatus like this, you know that that's a service dog, one way and another. And for you to just go bring, 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 scares me as a person who loves being outdoors. I don't know whether to freeze, to move left or right. And I have to trust my guide dog, who is very trustworthy at picking where he or she needs to move me along the path. So the thing is, how are you going to signal? Passing on the right. You're not going to go passing on the right, passing on the left, passing on the right, or passing on the left. I don't care which side. Just make it very clear and loud. Got it? We will practice. I will tell you briefly of a biker I know who has biked in races all over the country, lives in Minnesota. And when Tom and I, my husband, first moved back there in 2020, I was discovering that trail from Noble Avenue going over to, I forget the name of the dam. And he goes whipping by and goes bring, bring. And under my breath, I said, oh, you blank. And he turned around and he goes, is that you, Jane? I know you. You're blah, blah. I go, oh dear. Just signal loud as you can with your good voices. They are trustworthy to me. If you have any other questions about connections in Minnesota, get my email from Carlin or from Gina. And if you have any questions, Mary Lee has just a ton of connections around access. Anyway. Okay, well, that's it for me for now.
Thank you both. And that's a good question that I want Mary Lee and Jane and Michelle all to just let me know, even if it's off record, if you guys are okay with me sharing your email addresses and or phone numbers or information to
Yes.
the community on our website. So,
I'm
Yes.
fine with it. Yes.
Absolutely. And I could even, if you're interested, kind of write up little outlines, visuals for people to see for some of this stuff too. So, because I know my presentation was not nearly as, I didn't present it nearly as organized and whatever as I was planning. So have it be an actual useful source if you guys are interested in that.
That would be great. I think all three of you have my email address. So if you have additional resources that you think would be super, super helpful to me to post on the website, please just go ahead and email those to me. Otherwise, I will be sure to get your contact information put on our website along with this forum itself. So
Well, I know Gina has ours, so
Yep.
you can get it from her.
And
And
you can get
Michelle,
that
I'd love to
information-
talk to you for a minute if you have a minute before
Yes,
we
you
all go
bet.
away.
And you can send the information to Gina as well, and she will get it to me. So either one is fine. I'm going to open the floor to everyone that's on the forum, see if anybody has any additional questions they would like to ask of any of the three of you. You can either raise your hand or type it in the chat.
I don't have questions. I just want to thank everyone for input. We are in the developing stages. We were granted, we're a regional park. Now we have a regional park designation in War Road, which is on Lake of the Woods. And all of these comments are very, very interesting. And I think we have to factor them in as we develop our parks.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you for whatever you all are doing. Keep doing it and don't be afraid to use us.
Thank you.
One, I'm going to say that a lot of these, as I've been studying this over the last several years, a lot of these, the planning, it really doesn't require that much thought and that much money. It just requires having the thought. It really does. And so that's what's been fascinating to me, is that these really are, you can make very reasonable accommodations. And not only do these accommodations those with needs, they really heighten the experience for everyone, whether there's needs or not.
Yes.
And so that's what's blown me away as to how accessible these accommodations really are when you start digging into it like I have.
Well, and what works for one usually, if not always, works for most everybody. If you're going to put a quilt outside for one, because that's a sensory deficit issue, I'd love to lay on your grandmother's quilt and hear the stories of the quilt and how those cotton, pieces of cotton were grown and where they came from and all of that. It's amazing what opens up if you let it.
Absolutely.
Michelle, could you speak real quick? I know in our parks, you've started helping us install sensory kits at the front desk so we can at least try to help accommodate?
Yes,
some
it's, yeah, so that's why I just saw Megan commented there on about the sensory kits. So what we're working on is trying to have just a few little items in every part. So we have price points. I'm not, so I created for Megan a list of items that I thought might be of value to have for free rent for individuals that come to Oxbow to be able to utilize to help them be able to enjoy the outdoors a little more. And then she was able to pick from, so we were able to individualize the kit that she has in a bin for individuals to check out. So like there's a weighted gel lap pad that has little things in it. So if a kid's stressed, they can put that 5-pound lap pad on their lap and they can focus on the weight that it's providing to help calm them, but also focus on the visual and tactile stimulation of poking the gel while they are listening to the birds or feeling the wind or hearing the leaves rustle. Or a doodle board that I can get in bulk for $4, $5 a piece so that they can be drawing as they're watching the birds at the bird feeder, or fidgets or things like that. So very affordable options that we can make available for individuals that might need that just slight extra little boost to be able to then focus on the outdoors and enjoying it like you. I don't know if that was what you guys were going for, but I think it's really cool, and I would love to help anyone make those available if they're interested.
Yep, and that's very helpful, and it's just one of those extra little steps that we decided to do at Oxbow Park. Our new nature center is very big, very open, very loud, and so we understand that the building itself can be a sensory overload. But one of the things that we did do as far as design was to we constructed the mother's room, which is also can be used as a quiet room. So it's a quieter, secluded space in that building that they can retreat to if necessary. So designing spaces like that can be important if you're working towards designing different elements into your new buildings and things like that. So
well, and that's where what you mentioned is that you didn't have to design one room and pay the money for that one room to only be for people that need to calm down. It's the mother's room. It can also be used for that as well. So just throwing my
perfect. Anybody else with any questions before we hop off here?
I was hoping that football die would pop up with something. How do you get from the 50-yard line to home, or whatever that is, the end zone, home base? Wrong game.
Well, this is Mary Lee, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you for inviting me. And if I can be a resource, I'd be happy to do so. I'm now going to leave and go join the American Council of the Blind National Convention. So talk with you all later.
I'm sure with your information at the hand, you will probably be getting contacted for some questions in the future. So I appreciate you allowing us to use you as contact.
And I'll go too. I think I need to get back to my husband who has Parkinson's and check in with him.
Thank you very much for hanging on just a little bit longer, and appreciate everybody for joining us in the forum today. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their week. Enjoy the indoor air conditioning as much as you can right now.
And Michele, are you you're still here? So as I listened to you, I just wanted to reach out and give you a hug. I remember the first time I introduced a child with autism to finger paint. Oh, I will never, ever, ever forget that. It just was quite something.